This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth. And as you can tell by the title of this video, guys, BC has gone full draconian with a new sweeping mandatory mask law that requires people to wear masks now in all public spaces. We have this recently from CBC. BC brings in sweeping new measures to control COVID-19, including mandatory masks. Social lockdown extended to December 7th. Yeah, right. Across the province, high-risk fitness activities suspended. Provincial Health Officer Dr. Bonnie Henry has announced wide-ranging new rules for controlling the spread of COVID-19, including mandatory masks in indoor public and retail spaces and restricting social gatherings to household members only for everyone across BC. Members of your family only, all across BC. So that's it, folks. And joining us on the line right now to help us understand these new insane draconian rules is Odessa Orowitz of Liberty Talk Canada. Thanks so much for joining us here, Odessa. We're in some crazy times right now. I know you probably aren't surprised by this news. I mean, we both could kind of sense this coming. But having said that, what was your initial reaction here to finding out that we are now joining the ranks and the likes of those in Quebec and Ontario and others around the world who are now being forced to wear the mask? What's your initial reaction?
Well, if you go back to the evening that we won at City Hall to not make it law or mandate, mandate means nothing right now. It means bullying. But what was interesting is Bonnie always played sort of the sweet role. But when we won at City Hall, meaning like 8 or 9 of us, I've talked to you about it before, that they encouraged, but because some people do have medical exemptions, they weren't going to mandate it. What happened was when City Hall voted it down, the next day, Bonnie became a different person. She was pissed off that we won at City Hall. And so since then, she's become more of a dragon. And it's funny because the law won, but she doesn't care because she's being pressured. This is a UN agenda. They have to have us all masked so that we're scared. And so I kind of thought, we won. This is the law. But the UN agenda does not care about local laws. And she's the UN player. She was placed here. She worked for Bill Gates. She knows exactly what's going on. She's the one allowing 40 amplification of a PCR test that is not even meant for COVID. So she knows exactly what's going on, and it's cases, cases, cases. And we already knew that come the winter, she was going to start saying there's lots of cases. Anybody who's read from the World Economic Forum and Event 201 and the UN agenda, this is written. So what I am peeved about is that really Bonnie, I don't think wanted to be this draconian, but there's just this pressure. As soon as Masks for Canada, the lobby group from Not From Canada came in, that's when everything went haywire. This Masks for Canada came from the UN. It trickles up to all the tech companies that want to make money off this vaccine. As soon as they came in, it was all out war against anyone who wanted their freedoms. So I think it's horrific. It still is not law though. And you know what's horrific about it, Dan, is that I don't know how many more studies we can present to Bonnie and doctors present to Bonnie. Not only do masks not work, people with these nasty masks that go in and out of your purse, in and out of your pocket, bacteria-laden nastiness is actually causing people to have so much bacteria at their mouth, they're breathing it in. And this is what's crazy. And I don't understand people who actually believe that COVID is a plague, like, the people that don't understand it's not, and they don't understand the PCR tests are fraudulent. Fine, okay? But think about this. When we started masking, when she bullied, I've never masked because I know it's a fraud and my health matters more than Bonnie's UN agenda. And I've never given anybody COVID. Give me a break. So when she started mandating and bullying, as you could see, 95 or 98% of the people have been wearing masks all day indoors. And then there's people just wearing them on the sidewalk, which nobody asked anyone to do. Now they're out in the moist air with the rain, with their mask on. It doesn't make sense. If they work so well, Bonnie Henry and UN, why have we got skyrocketing cases of corona. It doesn't make sense. So people who actually think this is a real plague, wouldn't they go, wait a sec, as soon as we were bullied to wear them all the time, the cases have gone way up. If you go on my Facebook, Odessa Orlowitz, it's open to anybody. I've shown the studies of when it was encouraged and then mandated, and it shot up. So why doesn't Bonnie say, 2 + 2 does not equal 7? Okay, wow, we have started mandating masks and it's tripled. So either they just don't work, which we know they don't, and you're breathing right through them, which we already know because numerous doctors who are not being paid off by this agenda from Canada, all over the world as well, saying, why are you putting a mask on? It doesn't work. It's just stupid. It's all about control. And so, right, like it's not working. So why doesn't Bonnie go, well, that's not working. The masks aren't working. In fact, for some reason, gosh darn it, there's more cases. Take them off. Oh no, this is a control game. We're now going to mask as soon as we get to our chair at the restaurant, then when we go pee, then when we take it off, and here and here and here. And you know what, guys? The cases are going to keep rising. You want to know why? The cases are going to keep rising because this is a plan.
Well, you know what? Let's talk a little bit about these case numbers, because I think that's truly what's driving the fear state today, and the reason why you're seeing so many people wearing masks. It's gone up to almost 99% of the people out there, and it's largely because of the spike in these case numbers. But what a lot of people aren't understanding or putting into context is that the death rate has remained relatively stagnant. In fact, hospitalizations have gone down while these cases have gone up. And what I looked into, Odessa, is that cases not only are confirmed cases, but also presumptive cases are actually counted. And presumptive cases include people who don't even have symptoms, and get this, who weren't even tested. We don't even know if they're negative or positive. They might not have any symptoms. They may have just been contact traced with somebody in a restaurant. They are counted as a case. So when Bonnie Henry and Adrian Dix go on there every single day talking about the new case numbers, they're scaring the living daylights out of everyone, when essentially the case numbers really amount to nothing. What are your thoughts on this idea of using these numbers to scare people when cases technically constitutes just about anyone and everyone?
Well, on one of my episodes, I actually showed another fellow who does what we do, Dan, YouTuber, Wake Up Canada, I think it was him. And he phoned a health authority, I think it was in Ontario, and managed to get the number of amplifications that Canada is doing right now. And every doctor, even crooked Fauci, has said way back when in the summer, oh yeah, we don't amplify the PCR test, anything over 25 or 30, anything over that. So when I say amplify, I'm not a doctor, but I've read what they mean. The PCR test, you can make it super sensitive or not as sensitive or in the middle. Anything plus 25 or 30 is laughable. They are trying to find anything that's an old coronavirus, old infection, old cold or flu in, I think it's your lungs, but I'm not sure, but they're finding it somewhere. It is criminal. They're doing it at 40 amplification. They are doing that so they can say, yes, we have cases, but even when they were amplifying it, say 25, 20 back in summer, whatever they were doing, it's still a fraudulent test. I have shown on my Facebook, as I'm sure, Dan, you have, and all of us, probably about 50 doctors now, virologists, high-level people that are not being paid off by the UN agenda, that are not benefiting in massive and hundreds of thousands of dollars of pay, that this is such a fraud, these tests. Even the fellow that made it, before he passed away, he even said it's a fraud. And so everyone says to me who's not awake, why would the government want to do this? I mean, they're torching their own economy and they have to deal with it. That's because the UN agenda we have been signed up for, it was around 198 countries. Do I have the right number? Why do you think Trudeau is like Agenda 2030? He came on TV and said he switched it around just to fool people. 2030 agenda. I
Mhm.
mean, guys, they have to torch what's left of our economy to change the money system, take total control. And if you think we're coming out of these masks anytime soon, no, they need to separate us, mask us, because when communism comes in and a totalitarian government, we have to be separate. That is what they're doing. They're keeping us apart from family. People are turning against each other. And you know what, Dan? Maybe I'm too much for your show. Maybe I'm too much of a conspiracy theorist, but it's all coming true. Remember that liberal leak that people think might be fake? I mean, everybody got it, right? The liberal leak.
Mhm.
You got it too, right? When the person that said, hey, I'm from the Liberal Party, bad things are happening. Okay, whether you believe it or not, whoever wrote it was right about the exact dates. End of November, early December, they're going to declare that there's a ton of cases. They're going to say the hospitals are getting overwhelmed and they're going to shut us down again. And you know what? There's truthers, right, Dan, that have been going to hospitals pretending they're sick and showing that they are empty.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, let's talk a little bit about how people are going to deal with this moving forward, because it's becoming law by midnight tonight. People are going to feel that they have to wear a mask, and I've been having some great success with not wearing masks. I haven't worn one yet, and I go into many stores that have mandatory mask signs right on the front. They have people there, and I often just walk in and I just go on in and get what I need to get, and often nobody says anything. But sometimes when people say something, I just immediately say, I have a medical exemption, and keep walking. If they stop me again, it usually doesn't escalate much beyond that. But if it does, I explain to them that they're not legally allowed to ask me what my medical condition is. I have a medical condition, leave me alone. And you just keep walking. And I've had some successes in that area so far. Now with the law changing, we're going to see what this is going to play out like tomorrow in the next few days. But that's what I plan on doing. What's your plan? And what sort of practical words of advice can you give for people out there who are going, this is crazy. I don't want to be forced into wearing a mask, but I need to go grocery shopping and I got to do this and that. What's some words of advice here for people moving forward over the next coming week?
Well, I guess I'm behind the 8 ball. It's becoming law tonight, like law.
As far as I know, yeah, it's going to be mandatorily pushed as of midnight tonight, up until December 7th, they say, but obviously that is going to be extended beyond December 7th.
Well, there's a big difference, Dan, between mandatory, which is more bullying, more you must, and law. So we're going to find out pretty quick, because the Vancouver Police Department, they know this is a bunch of bunk, and they're not, at least as I know from what I know about VPD, they're not planning to go arrest people for not wearing a mask. If that starts to happen, that'll be interesting. It has not happened here yet.
Well, as I understand it from Bonnie Henry's language, she says suggesting people and encouraging them to do this hasn't been working. We didn't want to go the fine route. We didn't want to go the arresting route, but here we are.
Is that what she said? She said arresting and fining?
Not in those words, don't quote me, but that's pretty much where we're at here in British Columbia now, as I understand it.
And you know what's so ridiculous about that is, really, Bonnie, because 99.9% of the people have been wearing masks. So you're going to blame it on the freedom movement people who are trying to show that masks can cause more damage. And the other thing is, don't forget, in 2019, Bonnie Henry herself signed with the nurses union her name on the dotted line that they no longer have to be forced masked because they're ineffective and they can actually cause more damage. She signed that. We got the document early in the summer, me and Susan and a bunch of other people, and now they've removed it from the Freedom of Information. It's not there. So she even knows they don't work. So I'm sorry, but I just have no respect for a criminal who's part of the UN agenda, and she belongs in jail just like everybody else above her for doing this fraud. Well, Dan, what am I going to do? I'm going to keep going into stores without a mask. And one day, if the cops show up, I guess I'll have to deal with it, because I don't know that, can they make it law right now? I honestly don't know if it's law. If it's not law, I'm not doing it. It's just the media. What if people don't even watch TV? I'll be like, what law? I don't watch TV.
Yeah, it's
right?
true. Imagine how far better off so many people would be if they weren't watching television. Can you imagine that right now?
Yeah. Well, the city hall, it is not law. So there's no way that Bonnie Henry we can say it's law when we just won at City Hall to not make it a law. So this is now an ego, power, and media saying, yes, it is, but I know it isn't. We've done the hard work. So let's just see how it plays out. I'm not going to wear one. And if someone says, I'll just say I have an exemption, and my exemption, not that I'm going to tell them, is that I suffer from intelligence. I'm sorry, but it goes against my mental capacity.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. One I thought of the other day was, couldn't I identify as a 2-year-old in this climate here in Canada? Shouldn't that be acceptable? Or couldn't I call people a bigot for refusing to recognize me as a 2-year-old? And of course, 2-year-olds don't have to wear masks. So leave me the hell alone. I'm 2 years old. Goo goo gaga. Yeah, there's lots of things we can do moving forward. And look, it's not to be mean. We obviously have done the research. We understand the data. We see the non-threat that this really is, that it's essentially paramount to a common cold or regular influenza flu. It's really quite comparable to those things. We know this. So there's no need to be jumping into all this hysteria and hype. And you've been talking about this a lot on your channel, and you guys have been having a lot of growth. I know you're going to continue to cover this mask mandate, especially as you've been kind of hammering it at Bonnie Henry, and now it looks like it's going to be law by midnight tonight. So I'm sure you're going to delve deep into that over the next few days. So where can people find you if they're not already subscribed to you?
Oh, I'm Liberty Talk Canada on YouTube. And if I get removed from YouTube for too much truth, I'm on BitChute, Liberty Talk Canada. The link is in my show on YouTube. So, and you asked, what am I going to do? Now, here's one more thing. Mm-hmm. My sons are going to want to go for dinner. It's my son's birthday soon. And they know this is a crockadoo, but they just do it just to be able to go to school and blah, blah, blah. I did get them exemptions, but they don't want to use them because they're embarrassed. So this is a whole fight we had, and I have to let them do their thing. So if my son wants to go for dinner for his birthday, I'm going to take him. And what I'm going to do is, this goes against all my morals, but just for my children, I'm going to order a mask. I'm going to order one that says Agenda 21, fraud, Agenda 2030, and a bunch of other things. And I make all of us wear it when we go in. Yeah. And then I take it off. So at least I'm doing a message. We need everybody doing these messages if you're going to wear a mask, but I don't want to.
Look, we got to choose our battles moving forward. There's going to be times where, and don't feel like you're complying or submitting or anything like that. There's a time and place to fight these incremental moves towards all-out tyranny. And your son's dinner party is not necessarily a time to worry about that. So we're going to pick and choose our battles. So don't feel so bad about doing that. And I want people to understand that out there in the audience watching this, that here and there, you may have to do certain things. Now, obviously, if you had to travel because, let's say, God forbid, your parents just died and you have to go to their funeral, of course you're going to go and be forced to wear the mask. And so you're going to have to pick and choose your battles moving forward. But you've been hacking at the root, literally going down to town hall and giving council some food for thought. And it's really been great. That's the kind of things we need moving forward, especially now that the boiling frog scenario is really starting to heat up to the point of cooking us all. So I'm going to encourage people to check you out. I want to encourage them to check you out on BitChute, especially. Subscribe to her on YouTube, but definitely subscribe to her on BitChute because she is talking a lot of truth and she is on the chopping block. I do believe they will terminate her channel very soon, and many like her. So make sure you follow her on BitChute. Odessa, once again, man, great having you on today. Thanks so much for breaking the latest draconian craziness down for us, and hope to do it again sometime soon.
Thanks, Dan. And I'm going to check out that law thing and text you. I don't think it's law.
Okay, let me know. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, bye.
We all want truth. The truth will set you free.